and welcome back to Gap Gracepoint Online. It's amazing to have you here. My name is Ilza. I'm the Gap Pastor at Gracepoint, and today we're going to be looking at what it is that we can do to better communicate with our preteens. And that is as we try to understand our preteens even better. As parents, as guardians, as community members to a preteen, we know that it can be difficult to understand our preteen. And so we here at Gap Gracepoint Online want to help you better understand and today communicate with your preteen. So we're going to be looking at communication styles for the different ages, but today we'll specifically be looking at our middle school or preteen age and how we can communicate in an effective and comfortable way for us as parents or community members and also for your preteen. And so let's jump straight into how do we communicate effectively to our preteens. The first thing that we'll need to note for understanding our preteen is that at this age, in the middle school or preteen age, your children are craving your attention. They also are starting to discover the world around them from an independent point of view, whereas before they were looking to you to guide their opinions and their thoughts about certain things. They are now becoming more independent, which means they are starting to formulate their own thoughts about the world. They might start to disagree with you on certain things, and they might start to have differing opinions, and this may cause a bit of tension in your home. But remember that this is completely normal as they are starting to move to this phase where they are shifting and shaping and discovering their individual identity. Remember that attention is really important to them, and so being able and available for them to spend time with, to air their thoughts or their views, or to experiment whether this is a good or a bad view is really important. You don't want to cancel this communication or this wanting for attention by being dismissive of their attitudes. And so openness and being willing to have these conversations is really critically important. Help them to feel that they are accepted, that their views are appreciated even if they are different from yours, and that you are affirming them for the developmental and the hard work that they are doing into trying to understand the world. Remember when you're having these conversations that praise is important. Affirming your preteen is important. Remember, you don't always have to say it. Even something as simple as eye contact, nodding, smiling, and having an open body language can say a lot to your preteen about your attitude towards them, but also their view. Also at this phase, they might have difficulty distinguishing their identity from their views. Even as adults, we have difficulty with this. Sometimes we feel that criticism is about us and as an individual, that we and our character are being attacked, rather than it actually being about our view or our opinion being criticized or being shaped or disagreed with by the person. So help them to see the difference between who they are as a person and what they believe or what they think. And so when you are critically analyzing or discussing their view, you're not criticizing them. They are still your child or your class member. You still love them, but we need to look at the view. Separate the person from the fact. Help them to have room to express their feeling without judgment. If they feel that they can share with you and speak to you, your communication problem is already halfway out the window, because communication often is a breakdown of an openness, a want to be able to speak to one another. When we are able to feel that we can express ourselves with no judgment and have room for that in our home, we can be ourselves. And so we start to open up, we start to share, and that means that communication will start to flow. Remember that it's never an easy thing to do. Communication is hard work. Communicating effectively and correctly is also difficult, but parents persist. Keep doing it because your child and your home life is worth it. Remember, it's all about the end goal of having a preteen, which then turns into a teenager, a young adult, and an adult who is responsible, respectful, and able to follow the ways of the Lord because of your training. Another important aspect that can help with this communication is remembering that not all communication is verbal. In fact, a lot of our communication is non-verbal. That means through our body language, through our facial expressions, even how we use our hands when we talk, like I do. If we are going to be very closed in our communication, having our arms crossed, having a unpleasant expression on our face, your child may feel judged even though you are trying to create a space for them and a space that they can be themselves and feel safe. If your nonverbal body language is dissonant or not agreeing with what your verbal language is saying, they may take more and understand more of your nonverbal forms of communication than your verbal forms of communication, and that can also contribute to a communication breakdown. So remember, verbal communication is important, but nonverbal is equally as important as you communicate before you even begin to speak. Another great thing that you can do to communicate with your preteen is active and reflective listening. Active listening is making sure that you have verbal and nonverbal cues to help them see that you are actually listening to them. Things like, nodding, sure, yeah, I understand, yes. Those little interjections rather than interruptions help them know that you are actually actively listening. Another way for active listening to happen is through something we call reflective listening. And that is simply put that you start to just reflect back to them a little bit of what you've heard. For example, if your preteen says to you, I don't want to play with Johnny anymore, your reflection could be, you're not playing with your friends anymore? Tell me a bit more about that. They feel that you have heard them, but you are able to lean in and get a little bit more information and communication out of them and get to the heart of the matter because they are feeling understood and because you are actively and engaged in your listening. If you're not going to help them lean in further, it might mean that your communication breaks down a bit and they feel that they are not understood or cared for. If they say, I'm not going to play with Sarah anymore, and you say, oh, that sucks, it's immediately a breakdown in that communication. So you want to be open and actively listening to them. Another important part of communication, especially for preteens, is speaking clearly. And when we speak clearly, we are communicating our expectations. We are making sure that we are sharing what our expectations are. And clear is kind. It's a lot easier to understand and to follow an instruction or to help one another if we know exactly what is expected. It's not necessarily going to be helpful to a preteen if there is obtuse or confusing information. For example, if they are doing something that is disruptive and you say, sure, that's loud, it's not very clear communication. But if you say, you are disrupting me because of the sound, could you please take this outside? Or could we please wait until later to do this? It is clear, it sets the expectation, and then it makes them easier for them to also follow through with what you are asking. So clear communication is an important one. Try to avoid bribes because bribes are also a form of unclear communication. Another important one is explaining your feelings. When you do that, you make me feel that this and this. Or I feel this and this way when you do that. Or I feel that you are saying to me that you would like this instead of that. Feel and explain your feelings. If you're feeling a certain way, that's good. It means you're still alive. Feeling is a form of knowing that we are still alive. But explain your feelings so that that communication can be clear and you can have good and clear and a safe space of communication. When your preteen sees that you too are able to feel safe in an appropriate and safe space, that you can share your feelings, they too will start to open up to you. And lastly, remember to have fun together. Fun is a great way to make sure that your family is constantly communicating. A lot of the time, we are not spending enough time with our families in an intentional and focused way. Yes, we might be picking the kids up from school. Yes, we might be living together. We might do homework together, but that is not necessarily valuable or intentional time of spending time with your child. Find a common interest or an activity that you enjoy and actively schedule it into your family's routine so that they too can spend quality time with you. If they feel that they can have fun with you, they will also be able to enjoy the good times, but also be there with you and see that you can help them when they are going through bad times. And so have fun, have good and valuable time, and make sure that you are able to clearly and enjoy that time with them. So parents, I really hope that this has helped you. Just a couple of things of how you can communicate. Remember, clear is kind. Manage the expectations, but share your expectations clearly. Also, have fun together as a family. Make sure that you are also communicating in a way that tells them about your feelings and that you are comfortable in sharing with them. And above all, of all the things that we've covered today, make sure that you are able to be there for your preteen, even when it gets hard, because that is when they will be able to share with you what they are feeling and what they are facing. Remember to remind them above all that you love them, that there is nothing that they can do to make you love them less, and so by that love, you are there for them even when things get hard. Hopefully this has been helpful. We hope to see you again for another episode of Understanding Your Preteen as we unpack another issue that may be difficult for you as a parent or guardian or community member to a preteen to deal with, so that you can better understand your preteen and help, guide, and support them. Parents, community, thank you so much for the work that you are doing in investing into the lives of God's loved children that are your preteens. We'll see you again next time on another episode of Understanding Your Preteen.